Okay, well, here we go. Well, welcome to this week's cooking class. My name is Tara Larson. I'm a global director with Epicure. So tonight we're doing my little theme of breakfast is for dinner. And I'm going to give you all kinds of really cool egg hacks and different things that you can make with some of Epicure's like the juicer and just some things that will save you a lot of time on breakfast. And why not have breakfast for dinner? Sometimes it's just a real quick and easy meal. So before we get started, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. So some of you have probably heard my story, so just bear with me. Just going to be a couple of minutes here, but for those of you that come in that don't know me or that watch the recording, I have been with Epicure for 23 years now. It's been the most amazing journey. I am a foodie at heart, and it's funny. I remember back one of my friends saying to me, like when I was, 22 years old, and she said to me, "You just love food. You should really do something around food, like maybe be a chef or like work for a food company or something like that." And I just laughed. And at the time, actually, it was kind of a funny story because I was a bit offended. I thought she was meaning I love food like a little too much, like I was maybe a little too chubby, and which isn't what she meant at all. But at the time, of course, being a sensitive young girl, I was thinking, how dare she tell me I love food? Anyways, now I look back and I just laugh because she could see something in me that I could not see at the time. I was like, yeah, I love discovering recipes. I was not a cook then. I could barely boil water when I left home. I had to phone my mom and say, okay, I'm making broccoli and potatoes and pork chops, and I'm not sure what to do here. Or I think I was making chicken at the time that I called her that one time. What I didn't realize was there's a difference in the kind of chicken you buy. So I had bought stewing chicken, and I was making fried chicken in the oven. So needless to say, I think back then I was using, shake and bake, and I put it in the oven, and my fella got home. We were living together, and I was like, I made shake and bake chicken and potatoes and broccoli. I was so proud of myself. And of course the chicken was just terrible. It was stringy, and you can just imagine stewing chicken. Anyways, so what happened was when I discovered Epicure, I was about 28 years old, and what I loved about it was everything I made, it turned out. There was directions, like we have on our packages, and it just simply turned out. So I didn't have anything that literally up till then I'd thrown a lot of things into the garbage in order to take out, because I was just like, oh, I just don't know that I'm a really good cook. My friend telling me to maybe become a chef or something, that was the wrong idea. But anyhow, Epicure really helped me learn how to cook. It helped me find an interest in cooking when I really didn't like it because I wasn't very good at it. And I decided to take my business full time with Epicure when I had Asia, because I wanted to stay home with her and I didn't want to leave her at a daycare. I'd arrived at the daycare one day and they told me that she had started to crawl, and that was my breaking point. That's when I said, you know what? I want to raise my own daughter. I've seen other people be able to stay home and make it enough of an income with Epicure that I think I'm going to give it a whirl. Had a talk with my husband at the time, and the rest is history. I was going to go back to work, of course, when she went to kindergarten, like a lot of moms do. But by then I was making a 6-figure income. I'm working 20, 25 hours a week. I'm working in the evenings when she's in bed anyway. And, now I work more in the days and the evenings. But oh my gosh, at the time it was the perfect thing to do. And, here we zoom forward, and of course I am now 23 years with Epicure. Asia's graduated from university, and here I am still doing my business, still loving it. And what I really, really appreciate and I'm so grateful for is when this whole COVID thing hit last March, it was so, and has been so devastating to many. And I really thought with us doing live in-home classes and things like that, I'm like, how are we going to do this? I just don't even know. But I tell you, we really filled a niche for people that were looking for ways to find inspiration in the kitchen. They had more time to stay home and cook. We could not go out for the longest time. And even now, of course, we're being told to stay home more than go out. So Epicure, we had 65% growth in our business this last year. My Epicure group, we did over $15 million in sales. That's a lot of Epicure. That's a lot of spices. So I can only be grateful, and it just continues to get better and better and better. So the reason I tell this story is if you or someone you know might be interested in joining our Epicure community and learning how to find solutions for people in the kitchen like what I do, I can certainly give you information on that. And the other way, a great way, of course, because we get a good discount as consultants, but another great way to get free Epicure is to host your own virtual class. So if you've logged in here tonight or you're watching the recording, the only difference would have been you invited your friends, and I make you an order link, and then you get all the free credit. The free is usually $100 or more in free products on average for host. And you can even do it so that you don't even have the live portion by inviting your friends in here. I simply give you an order link, and you just say to your friends, I am throwing in an Epicure order. Does anybody need anything? I just had one of my customers do that, and she was like, well, I have this order for me and my neighbor, but she said, you know what, I'll throw something on Facebook and just say that I am putting in an Epicure order, and we'll see what happens. Well, she ended up at $588 in orders and got her entire order plus some things. She had to pick more things for free. And she's like, who knew? She said, contact me in the fall and I'll do the same thing. So there's also that option. So anyways, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. So I've got some really cool things to tell you tonight. A lot of things about eggs and how to make French toast in under a couple of minutes, how to make an omelet in 1:20. We're going to do a whole bunch of things. I'm going to tell you, have you ever had, getting your toast ready with your eggs and you realize your butter is harder than a rock? Have you ever tried to spread hard butter onto toast? We all know how that goes. Well, I'm going to show you a quick solution to that. And then give you a bunch of other different kitchen hacks. So let's get started. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the egg test. Have you ever bought eggs and then wondered, I don't know, are they fresh enough? Maybe they're eggs from a farm. They don't even have a date on them. Or maybe you're like, they're past their date, but are they still okay? Super easy way to tell. Put one of them in a glass, fill it full of water, and if it's sitting like that, that's a perfectly fresh egg. Sitting on its side, laying at the bottom. If it was at the bottom but pointing straight up so that the smaller part of the shell is pointing up, that means it's probably not fresh, but it's fine to eat. If it's floating part way up, you could probably get away with it in something like baking or something really high heat, like if you were going to boil them or something like that. And actually using old eggs to boil is great because the peels come off really good. If you've ever tried to boil, has anyone ever tried to boil farm fresh eggs? It's like you're lucky to get the egg out of those shells. But I'm going to give you a little trick on how to get them out of the shells too. So last but not least, if it's floating on the top, toss it. Those are the ones you want. Those are the ones you want to save for Halloween. Because those are rotten eggs and you don't want to eat them. So that's a real simple way. And then of course, all you do is pour your water out of your glass and you can still use the egg. So that's just a little bit of information around that. And So the next thing we're going to do is, of course, I've got the wonderful Epicure steamer here. And what I love about the Epicure steamer, it breakfast in an instant. I dice potatoes up in here and put them in there in 5 minutes. They're cooked. I throw them into a frying pan, and those are cooking as I'm doing everything else. They take minutes. You can't even get frozen potatoes ready that fast, and why not use fresh? It's pennies, and they're so much more delicious. And of course, cannot make them without dusting a little the roasted garlic aioli on them. So delicious, instant roasted garlic flavor. So good. If you like them a little spicy, you can throw a pinch of chipotle on. I also really like our rosemary garlic. Delicious on pan-fried potatoes. So those are some ideas around that. I don't eat potatoes. I'm not going to show you how to make them, but I just described it. Super easy. So in the steamer, you have this little tray. So this is the best bacon maker too. So what you do is you take your bacon pieces. You can do 4 to 5 at a time, depending on the width of your bacon, and you lay them over the insert. You tuck that into your steamer, put your lid on, and it's 1 minute per piece, roughly. If it's a thick cut bacon, it's probably going to take a couple extra minutes for the whole batch, but 1 minute a piece first off. You put it in on high, and it comes out, and here's the neat thing. So it's on this tray, so all the grease drains off, and it's in the bottom of the steamer. And it gets super crispy, or you can make it, if you don't like it super crispy, you can time it so that it comes out so it's cooked, but you know, still maybe a little bit less crispy for like things like egg sandwiches or things like that. And this is the other neat thing. So you pull your bacon off, you put it on some paper towel, get rid of the grease, and then I just let this go cold. And then what I do is use, where do we have it here? The Epicure spatula, and I spoon that all into the garbage. So no grease going down my sink. Don't have to have one of those little grease cans or anything like that. I just scoop it out, throw it into the garbage. The spatula gets everything out of the steamer, and then I rinse it with a little hot water to get rid of any residual grease. So there is some ideas on your bacon and your potatoes. So here is the next really neat thing. So we're going to add, I'm just going to get my prep bowl. So I talked about this a little bit on my last class, but because this is all about eggs, so I just really want to put this in on this class too. I'm going to add into the steamer. So I've got my steamer here. I'm going to dump in a cup. So I just use the Epicure prep bowl. It's 3/4 of a cup to here, so I just filled it full of water into the bottom. You rarely use water in your steamer. However, for this purpose, you're going to. And then I'm going to take 6 eggs, and I'm just going to set them on top of the insert. So you see them sitting like so. I'm going to put my lid on, and you know it only fits one way because you want it to seal, because I want this to steam, not microwave. And I'm going to throw it in my microwave for 5 minutes and set it and forget it. So that is instant boiled eggs. And then when I pull them out, I'll show you what I'm going to do with them. And there is a recipe on there with that, but I'm going to show you also how to peel a boiled egg as well. If you are boiling them in a pot, we have a great little multi-pot with a handle on it. It's great for boiling eggs. You can also do that. And if you put a little baking soda into the water, it helps farm fresh eggs peel. However, I'm going to show you a little trick with this. But while that's doing, I'm going to make the next thing that we're going to make. And it's Epicure's little omelet maker. I love it. You can see it opens up. So we are going to make a quick omelet. So I'm going to point this down so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Hopefully you can kind of still see me. So I've got a couple of eggs. So in my omelet maker, actually, the first thing I'm going to do, I've got some peppers here that I've cut up. I love red pepper in an omelet, but you can use any combination. I've got, let me see here, spinach. So here is a hack for your spinach. So I don't know if any of you have ever had spinach go bad. Anyone have spinach go, you know, liquidy in the fridge or whatever before you could get to it? Well, all you need to do is freeze it in a Ziploc bag before it, you know, a couple of days before it's on its last legs, because you don't want it to have that flavor. But I do this often. I use what I want in salads and that kind of thing, and then I chop it up and I throw it into a Ziploc bag, because then I use it in my smoothies, I use it in omelets, I use it in stir fries. You can use it and there's no waste. And all I do now, I've used it in this omelet. So I've put my red peppers and my spinach in here. And I just throw that back in the freezer. And the really neat thing about spinach is you don't have to freeze it on a cookie sheet or anything, because it naturally freezes individually. So, and it, you know, so you can pull just a bit out. So anyway, so I have my peppers and my spinach. And if you want, I like my peppers a bit crunchy, but if you like your vegetables really cooked, you could cook that for like a minute or two prior to putting the egg mix on. However, I don't. I like my peppers to be a bit crunchy. So I'm going to do my eggs. And here's the thing. So there's a couple of ways you can separate your yolks. I used to do this method where you go back and forth, but if you happen to catch the yolk on the side of the shell, big bad, you know what happens? Just like that, you end up with a yolk in there. But where did I put it? Someone gave me this super simple trick. So what you do is you squeeze a bottle and you put it over the yolk. Oops. Oh my God, I had it and then it fell out. Anyways, it sucks the yolk up. That didn't work out very well. And now I've got I don't have a second one to try with. I had it and I just let the, you got to keep the pressure on. And then you could drop it into another bowl. Another way to do it that's super simple, and I'll show you with the next one, is with your hands. So I'm going to show you that. But right now, I'm just going to grab my whisk. So I've got my 2 eggs. I'm laughing at myself. That didn't work very well. It does work. So just keep an empty water bottle, especially these Great Value or Nestle, because you know they're really easy to squish or whatever. So I've got my eggs. So I'm going to, using the Epicure mini whisk, and this is our 4-cup prep roll, which I love because you can really whisk those eggs up. Now you can add milk if you want, like a tablespoon. I use cashew milk because I don't do dairy, but any milk will do. It's all good. So I'm just gonna put about a tablespoon in there. You know how I all measure, very often. And then you can put any Epicure herbs in here. My favorite is I put a little bit of the Epicure, just grabbing it, sea salt, of course, because sea salt's a whole lot better for us. And sea salt's particularly nice with eggs. It brings out a nice natural flavor in them. And then I use our turmeric and black pepper. And why I love the turmeric and black pepper is the turmeric apparently works a whole lot better with black pepper, and it's really good for inflammation. And I have a bad knee, and this really does help. I also take turmeric on its own, so I'm going to put a little salt and pepper. And then you can do whatever you like. One of the things I really, really like to use is our Epicure 3 onion. Throw a little bit of that in. And I also like the Epicure spinach dip. It's a really nice, just let me see if I can find it quickly here. Another good one. There we go. Spinach dip. It's a nice vegetable seasoning. You can always use the Epicure vegetable seasoning too. I'm going to whisk those in. Of course, it rehydrates in a jiffy in the eggs. Also, here's a little trick. If you want your eggs to taste super fresh, before you scramble them or before you make an omelet, you want to put a tiny little pinch of curry in. Just a little pinch. I know, it's a secret. Don't tell anybody. So, oops, turn my water on. There we go. Okay, so I've got that in there. Let me show you how quick it is to make an omelet. So I've got my veggies in there. I'm gonna pour my eggs in here, just like so. Kind of let it all mesh around. Put the lid on. And here's what I do. I put it on a plate so it's easy to handle and throw it into the microwave. I'm gonna pull out my boiled eggs and I'm gonna get this cooking. There we go. So I'm gonna put it on for a minute and then I'm gonna check it because it doesn't take long and you don't want it overcooked. So my eggs, what it said is do them for 5 minutes, let it sit and steam for 2 more. And then I'm just gonna pull my lovely, of course, my roll-up rack that I always talk about to the side. So over my sink, I'm gonna put it into the sink because I don't want any steam burns. You pull the lid off. Put this back here. And then what you do is I am going to put them into, just gonna rinse out my bowl that I scrambled my eggs in. And I am gonna plunk them into this bowl. Ooh, they're hot. Ooh, hot. And do you notice? I'll show you here. Because I know you're all thinking, oh my gosh, won't they explode? I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, a whole egg in the microwave, it's gonna explode. It's gonna make a huge mess. Well, there's all our eggs. Nobody exploded. And what I'm gonna do is I just set them into that bowl. I'm gonna take this. You could also just fill it full of cold water. So I'm gonna do that. And remember, I got some ice before we started. So I'm gonna put them into an ice bath. That is gonna help them to stop cooking. So I've got that going on. And we're just gonna leave them sit for a minute. The ice bath really helps with also peeling them. So we're gonna check now on our omelet. Because you could be making a whole breakfast buffet in this amount of time. Okay, so what I do is I take my spatula and I just pull away some of the cooked bits at the end, kind of mix them back through. And I'm gonna put this in, my best guess is about another 20 seconds. It can take up to a minute 30, minute 40. Actually, we'll do 30 seconds and I know it'll be done for sure. And then I'm gonna show you what we do with that. So we'll get back to the boiled eggs in a minute. The next thing we're gonna make is, let me see here. Oh no, wait. We're gonna make some orange juice while we're waiting, some fresh squeezed orange juice. So a lot of people don't realize that with the, I just have to find it here. Not sure, oh, there it is, where I put it. I use it a lot, so I mean, it's always in my sink. So I'm gonna take the citrus press, and I've got some oranges here. I'm just gonna cut them in half. So nice fresh little orange. And if they were too big to fit in the lemon part, which is quite liberal, I'd cut them into quarters. And then all you do is squeeze it. tip it out. And I'll just do a couple here. This is great, especially when you can get bags of oranges and they're not costing a lot of money. Okay, got another one here. And you have your own fresh squeezed orange juice. How impressive for your guests. See here. One more. Okay, that's the Epicure Citrus Press. So here I've made, that's just 2 small oranges. These are like those little clementines. But of course, a larger orange, I cut it in quarters. And then what you do is you can drink it full out like that. But if that's just a little bit strong for you or a little bit too concentrated, you can do like a quarter amount of water in there, or you could do half. And you could add also in a little bit of lemon juice to give it a little bit of a zippy citrus. Anyways, don't wait until you go out to a fancy restaurant to have your fresh squeezed orange juice. And the next thing we're gonna make, I'm just looking at my menu here, is, oh, wait a minute, sounds like our omelet's ready. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, it is ready. So here's what I'm gonna do. So once it's ready, voila, and it's so light and fluffy and tender, I'm going to just take a little bit of, you know, shredded cheese. And you can do anything on this. Oftentimes I'll do like shredded Parmesan or some cheddar or whatever. So once it comes out, simply throw some cheese on top, close the lid shut again, and then we'll just give it a minute or two and I'll show you what happens. I'm also going to get this ready. So remember I said about, you know, rock hard butter? So this just came out of the fridge, you know, and it's not going to spread very well on toast. So what you do is take hot water. I could have taken some out of my boiled eggs. That would have been fine. Put it in one of our little prep bowls. And I am going to put that on for about a minute. We'll see how bubbly it gets. And then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with butter. But while we're doing that, I'm going to get the next thing that we're making ready, and that's French toast in a minute. It's so good. So here's how you do it. So we've got 2 eggs, and here I'm going to show you how to separate an egg with your hands. So if you're trying to do it with your hands, cup your hand like this, put the egg in your fingers, and you'd hang onto the yolk. Just shake the white out, put it back into your shell, and there you have just your white. That's the easiest way to do it. That's how chefs do it. You just have to get over the fact that you've got like a raw yolk sitting in your hand. So if you're anything like me, I don't like raw things like raw chicken or raw things like that in my hands. So I prefer the bottle method or just using your shells. It's just the shell one doesn't often turn out. Okay, so I'm going to take and again use my little whisk here, get those eggs whipped up. I'm going to see if my water's hot here. Oh yes. So all you're trying to do here is get this prep cup hot. And the reason you want to put water in is you never want to put empty things in the microwave and heat them. So I'm just pouring out the hot water. Here's my butter, could be in a plate or in a bowl. And just got my cloth here just to get rid of any residue. So this is really still kind of hot. And put it upside down like that over your butter. And we'll come back to it. By the time you make your toast, the butter is going to be just right. There's another little trick. So back to our French toast. So I'm going to post recipes again for all these things I'm making, and it's all online as well. So The next thing you do with your French toast is it's 2 tablespoons of milk. So again, I'm going to use, I'm just trying to find, oh, I do have a measuring spoon here. So, oops, 2 tablespoons, that's about right, of milk, whatever kind you use. And then keep that going. Just going to look at this. I think it's just got the 3 things, but just in case I'm mistaken. So it is 2 eggs, 2 tablespoons of milk, 2 pieces of bread, which I'm going to pull out in a minute, and a half a teaspoon of either cinnamon or apple pie spice. I love the apple pie spice. It's like a more eclectic blend. And of course, this is our shaker lid for when you're shaking it onto things. Who had cinnamon toast when they were a kid? Oh my gosh, it was my favorite thing. I see Vicky put up her hand. So I'm gonna put a teaspoonful in here. I mean, to me, I just can't have enough cinnamon in French toast. And you wanna know another little trick? And I learned this at a really fancy restaurant, is I'm just gonna rinse my whisk. It's all down in the sink. Okay, I'm gonna whisk in that cinnamon. So is to put a splash of Cointreau into the mix. It makes it taste totally gourmet, and everyone will be like, what's that little thing, that little something in your French toast? And you'll be like, that's my little secret. So there's our egg mix for our French toast. But before I do that, we need to take out our omelette, which is perfectly delicious with melted cheese on it now. It only actually takes a few minutes. I use the Epicure spatula. I just go around the edges, and you can fold it out onto a plate. Oh my gosh, look at that. I'm gonna throw a little bit of green onions over it to make it look fancy. There we are. I'd add my breakfast potatoes that I've got cooking in the pan, a couple of slices of bacon, and look at that, 1 minute and 30 seconds. And it's the lightest, fluffiest, most delicious omelet you've ever had. And another thing we do with this is you can take and slice it in half, and now you can make a breakfast burrito. Put your potatoes right into a tortilla with a breakfast burrito, some green chili maybe, salsa, you name it. And super, super simple. You cannot beat 1 minute 30. And for myself, I never liked, I don't like pan cooked omelets because I don't like when they get that hard brown crust on them. So super delicious. Guess what I'm having for breakfast tomorrow? Because the other thing is you can make these, put them in Ziploc bags. You can take them to work, have an omelet at lunch. You can also just keep it in the omelet maker, and then it takes like 20 seconds to heat it up, and you have a perfectly prepared omelet at work where you didn't have to mix it all together and that kind of thing. So super delicious. Gonna put that over here. I'm just gonna give my omelet maker a tiny little rinse. I'm so excited. I'm renovating my kitchen. So I have countertops coming and new door things, and so you guys will be the first to know because you'll be able to see it behind me. Okay, so we have our omelet maker, and the really neat thing is the cleanup is almost null. So really, I gave it a swish out with a cloth, and it's pretty much clean. So here we go. I've got my bread. And I'm not sure if, so here's my bread. I'm not sure if any of you do keto, but this is keto bread. So I'm gonna make keto French toast. You can get this at a lot of different stores. Carries the pre-made keto bread now. It smells so good, you'd think it was real. And all I'm gonna do is take it, and I'm gonna rip it into chunks, put it into my egg mixture, And it's because we're putting it in the omelet maker, I want it in chunks because of course the bread full size would not fit in there, and I want to get it all soaked. So I'm just gonna, here we go. All I'm doing is mixing it into that egg mixture and making sure it's all coated. You don't want any dry bread chunks. Super simple. Okay, I'm gonna pour that. There we go. Might as well use this beautiful spatula to get all of the egg mixture out. Voila. So there's your mixture in your omelet maker. Close it shut again. Another plate. Makes it easy to handle. And then I want to make it according to the directions. I always just wing it. Okay, so it's approximately 2 minutes. So I'm always erring on the side of caution, so I'm going to do it for 1:30. So if you have a hotter microwave, you don't want to overcook it. So we'll do 1:30 and then we'll have a little look-see. Okay, so the next thing I'm just going to talk about, and I do a lot of these and you hear about these a lot, is making egg bites. You know, you can buy them at Starbucks. I think it's like $4 for 2 or something like that. But you can so simply make your own. And it's just what you saw me do for that omelet. 2 eggs, take some red bell pepper, some green onions, some of that spinach, some bacon crumbles. You can buy those like bacon bits from Costco or like all kinds of grocery stores, and you can just add the bacon bits in. And then we have Epicure silicone muffin maker. And why do you want to use silicone for egg bites? Anyone got a guess? Because they pop right out. And you want to give it a little bit of, you know, an oil or a spray with non-stick spray. However, they pop right out, and then you just put them into a Ziploc bag once they're cooled, and keep them in your fridge. And you can grab 2 or 3, and you've got instant bites on the go. And you can put all kinds of different cheeses in them, and you just mix it all together. You can bake them in the oven for about 20 minutes at 350, or you can do them in the microwave. Oh my gosh, like 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes total for the whole works. Super, super simple, delicious breakfast. And if you ever have to make omelets for a crowd, you can do 2 things. So I use that omelet maker. I have 2 of them. And what I do is I make an omelet bar up. So I've got all kinds of stations with diced peppers, you know, spinach, ham diced up, bacon, and I do a whole omelet bar. And I give them a bowl. I give them one of the Epicure 4-cup bowls, and they've got their 2 eggs in there, and I've scrambled those, and I hand it to them. I'm like, go to town. Decide what you want in there, mushrooms, you name it, throw it in there, come back to me. I have an omelet maker. I throw it into the omelet maker, ask them what kind of cheese they want. I put it in for 1.5 minutes, and I dump it out onto their plate, and I just put the cheese on top because it melts quite quickly that way. And you can really get 6 or 8 omelets made inside 10 minutes. And if you have the bacon and the potatoes ready, how impressive is that? But say you've got a crowd and you want to make an Almonder Frittata for a crowd. The Epicure sheet pans are perfect for that. So what you do is, of course, you know, sprinkle your sheet pan with your ingredients. So, you know, maybe we're going to use some red peppers, which I love, some, you know, green onion. You're going to throw some bacon in there, some ham, whatever combination you want, maybe some goat cheese. Feta is so good in an omelet. There you go. You take your eggs, you would do 12, 1 dozen on this, and it fills it, and we've got the liner here, and I'm just gonna pull it up so you can see it. It's got an edge on it. So it fills it up into your oven, about 30 minutes on 350, and you'll have a light fluffy omelet that you can cut into squares. And it's like a frittata. You just sprinkle some cheese on it at the end. So it's got the cheese on top, and you've got omelets for a crowd. So super, super simple. So let me just have a little check of our French toast. Oh, it looks pretty good. Let me see. You just want to kind of go in underneath and see if there's anything still raw. So I'm going to do it the extra 30 seconds because I just had in the middle a little bit of raw. And I don't know, on French toast, I don't like the egg to be raw. so that'll be just another 30 seconds. Where's our butter? Oh my gosh. Let me see. I'm just going to got your lid that I just took off. Let's see how that butter is now. Look at that. Perfectly spreadable butter. And that was no time at all. Because have you ever tried, because you're like, I'll just soften it for a minute in the microwave. And you end up with a bowl of melted butter. That is like perfectly spreadable butter, and it takes about maybe 2 minutes with that hot bowl sitting on top of it. And it's just, and you know, when you have guests over, it's really nice when you can serve it that way and they're not like trying to gingerly spread it on their toast. Okay. Last but not least, let me have a look here. Should be perfectly done. I'm just gonna check. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we've got it in our container here. I am gonna bring it out onto a plate. You'll see there's no raw left. French toast in an instant. It's light, it's fluffy, and I'm just gonna put some syrup on that, or you could do cream cheese and jam. Oh, it smells so good. I'll be having this with my omelet tomorrow for breakfast. So super, super simple, and kids love it. They're like, oh my gosh, and especially when they can make it and put it in there and it's 2 minutes and they're sitting down to breakfast, because don't we all know how kids are so impatient to get their breakfast? So there's the other breakfast item. And I almost forgot. So we have our cold scrambled eggs now. So here's what you want to do. Here's a little trick. Okay, so these were done in the microwave, and you want to take this bowl, you know, the one that you use to do your butter, put it over top of your egg, and then do this. Just like smash it around in there. Really take out all your aggression on it. And it comes out and it's all cracked up like that. And I'll just show you how easily and these are fresh eggs. You saw it was right at the bottom of that cup. I'm just gonna rinse it off here. And it makes it super, super easy to peel. And you can even do this with farm fresh eggs. It really helps them peel, because I tell you, those can be the hardest things to peel. Just let me get the rest of that off. Oh, there we go. And that's on a fresh egg. Just a couple little pieces stuck there. We have our peeled egg. So that's just a little trick. You can just use any kind of glass, but why not the prep bowls? Because I love these little prep bowls. They're so good for so many different things. So I'm gonna put my egg in that bowl. And does anybody have any questions now that we've come to the end?
What was the splash of something that you put in the or the French toast? I missed that.
Cointreau, orange liqueur.
Oh, okay. I thought that's what you meant. Yeah.
Just a splash. You can also use almond. I can't remember the name of the almond one, but it's also good. And it just gives it a little like, wow. And then of course you can use, you know, icing sugar over top of it too, to make it look pretty at the end. but yeah, so the Cointreau one I had, and then it has sliced oranges off to the side, so it can be really good. So, any other questions? All right, well, thank you everyone for coming on. Don't forget our specials. We're barely hanging on to that teppanyaki, but I tell you, holy cow, I ordered 3 more jars because we love it so much here. There's a staple in our fridge. And then we have, of course, this month's 30-day meal plan collection, and that is one of the best deals. It gives you something every night. It comes with a meal plan. I know, Vicki, you've been trying it. I hope you've been enjoying. You said you made the Southern baked chicken last night.
Yep. And the African stew tonight, the sweet potato stew.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And doesn't it just make it easy just to pick something, and you don't have to think about what am I going to make, and you don't have to think about all your recipe or your ingredients. It's right on the package.
Well, and what I did with the Southern baked chicken was I didn't want to have 8 servings. So I measured out the spices and just divided it. And so I did 2 big chicken breasts, which will make 4 meals. And then I put the packet back in the fridge so that next month I'll have 4 more meals.
Exactly. So Vicky's cooking for 1, and so she bought it, and she's like, yeah, but it makes 4 meals. What am I going to do? And I'm like, well, you need lunch, so you can at least get 2 out of it. So if you make half, you'll have dinner one night, lunch the next day or the day after. And she could have rather froze the other 2 portions, or in her case, she's going to half everything, and she's getting 2 months out of 1 month's worth of meals.
Yeah.
So,
and the sweet potato stew is definitely going to be 6 meals, at least.
Yes, I know. But that's great. That one freezes wonderfully. I actually have some of that in the freezer right now in my flat packs. And it's something I like when it's, like on a...
Not 85 degrees?
Yeah. This is a colder day. It's nice to have a nice warming stew. So that's great. So we still have that special on. Of course, we have that every month, and I have a deal on that. So if you are one of my customers, you can find out more about that on the my VIP group.
VIP stuff.
If you're not one of my customers, you want to talk to whoever invited you here. We all have our own specials and deals and that kind of thing. So please talk to the person that brought you here. And I just wanted to say too that getting back to the classes, if you want to book your own, all it takes is just letting me know, and I simply send you a link. You invite your friends to this, and the next class will be next Monday. We're back to Mondays, and that's all there is to it. Or you just put out a simple thing on Facebook saying, hey, I'm putting an Epicure order in, do you need anything? And you might be like my last customer that got to $588 just with 1 Facebook post. So anyways, thank you so much everyone for coming on. And if you have any questions after, just message me. I will post all the recipes that I did in my little breakfast marathon here. And I hope I give you some ideas to make breakfast or for dinner a little easier.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tara.
Okay, bye. Thanks.
Bye.